One story a day for early readers. Book 12. Story 1. A test. I failed a test. I felt terrible. It hurt me both inside and out. I was embarrassed. Just think about it. A smart girl did not pass the test. I cried. I could not sleep. I was supposed to be at the top. How will I face my friends at school? I thought. I would never be happy again. Never. My mom found out about my problem. She said, "So you failed a test. But do you know about another test that is even more important?" "What is it?" I looked at my mother, puzzled. "It is whether or not you can learn from your mistake," my mom continued. "Learning from your mistakes will make you strong. To me, that is more important than what you scored on a test." What my mom said really made me think. After a few days of struggling, I finally understood what my mom had said. She was right. I should not pity myself because of this one bad test. I will walk away from this a better person.
Story 2. Earthquakes. Last week, a terrible earthquake happened in Haiti. It made Alice and her friends think hard about it. They asked their science teacher, Mr. Gilton, a simple question. What makes the earth shake? Mr. Gilton explained it as simply as he could. He said, inside of the earth, there are big pieces of rock that are slowly moving all of the time. When two big pieces hit each other, they make the earth shake. Then he told the class that many people all over the world live in fear of earthquakes. Long ago, people believed earthquakes were caused by many different things. In India, people believed that the earth was held up by 4 elephants. The elephants stood on a turtle. The turtle stood on a snake. If one of these animals moved, the earth would shake. In Africa, people believed the earth was held up by a giant. When the giant stopped to give his wife a hug, the earth would shake, causing an earthquake. Today, we know the true cause of earthquakes, but that doesn't make them any less scary or dangerous.
Story 3. Broken Ankle. Dr. Miller broke his ankle. "I don't understand how I broke it," he told his friends. "I was walking in the woods when I stepped into a hole, but I don't think I twisted it enough to break it." "Now you get to see what it's like to be a patient," his wife told him. Finally, Dr. Miller's ankle got better and he could walk normally again. One day he said, "I'm going for a walk in the woods to see if I can figure out how I broke my ankle in that hole." Dr. Miller found the hole. He looked at it from every angle, but he still couldn't figure out how he had broken his ankle. He stuck his foot down the hole. Just then, he slipped and broke his ankle all over again.
Story 4. Shoveling Snow. Sam always wants to help his parents. One day, after a snowstorm, he began to shovel the snow from the balcony while his parents were grocery shopping. He wanted to surprise them. He wore his heavy winter jacket, snow boots, gloves, and of course his warm hat. Before long, he got hot. Sweat started running down his face. he became slower with each move. The snow became heavier. He was getting really tired. "What a job!" he groaned. "How can someone do this all winter?" Just then, his parents came home. Dad saw his son and laughed. "Oh dear, how sweet! But you are wearing too much. Shoveling snow is like doing exercise. You should dress properly." Dad took the shovel and helped Sam finish the work in 10 minutes. Next time, Sam thought, I will know how to dress when I shovel the snow.
Story 5. The Christmas Pig. We live on a farm. We have lots of animals. My favorite animal is Walter. He is a pig. This Christmas, Dad built a manger for my school's Christmas play. A manger is a big box that holds food for cows. Jesus slept in a manger when he was just born. One day, my friends came over to practice singing Christmas songs. Afterwards, we decided to go for a sleigh ride. We went out to the barn to get the sleigh. Dad opened the big barn door. He turned on the lights. There, nestled in the manger full of hay, was a very sleepy Walter. He raised his head. He could barely open his eyes. We all laughed so hard that we nearly fell over. Walter went right back to sleep. It made us laugh even harder. Since then, he has been known as Walter, the Christmas Pig.
Story 6. Is Bat a Bird? Part 1. Long ago, the birds and the land animals had a big war. The animals were winning, for they had legs and were very strong. That's when Bat went into a cave and hid. He wanted to see which side was going to win. After many hours, the animals finally won the fight. When he was sure which side had won, Bat flew out of his cave and followed the animals. Bear looked at him and said, "Here is a bird. Let's kill it." But Bat cried, "I am not a bird. Even though I can fly like a bird, look in my mouth. I have teeth. Birds do not. So, as you can see, I am one of you." The animals talked it over and finally agreed. They allowed Bat to join them. Story 7. Is Bat a Bird? Part 2. All was well until one day the birds returned to fight again. This time, the birds flew hard and attacked from the sky. Once again, Bat hid in a cave. This time, the birds won the fight. Bat joined the birds in victory. One old bird said, "You are not one of us." But Bat cried, "I am a bird. I have wings." Finally, the birds accepted him. The animals and birds continued to fight for many years. Each time, Bat hid and waited to see which side won. Finally, everyone was tired of fighting. Their wise leaders decided to make peace. But they wondered what to do with Bat. The leaders said, "You have wings, but you are not a bird. You have teeth, but you are not an animal. Because of your tricks, you will fly only at night when the birds are asleep and the animals are hunting." And so it was. Bat was destined to live a lonely life. Story 8. Knitting. Kelly finished making her snowman. She went inside Grandma's warm house. Grandma sat in a chair knitting a sweater. Kelly watched her grandma's knitting needles move fast. Click, click, said the needles. Would you like to try? Asked Grandma. Okay, said Kelly. Grandma handed Kelly a set of knitting needles. She guided Kelly's fingers through the stitches. Soon, Kelly was knitting by herself. What are you making, Kelly? Asked Grandma. A blanket for my bed, said Kelly. She worked and worked and worked on her blanket, but it was way too small for a bed. Click, click, said Grandma's needles. I changed my mind, said Kelly. I'm making a blanket for my doll. Kelly worked and worked and worked, but still her blanket was too narrow to be a doll blanket. Click, click, said Grandma's needles. Kelly finished the row she was knitting. I changed my mind, exclaimed Kelly as she pulled on her snow boots. I made a scarf for my snowman.
Story 9. Cows and Pigs. Stephen's family was having a fight with their neighbor, Mr. Phillips. Stephen looked at his mother. Why do you have to go to court? He asked. Because Mr. Phillips is angry that our cows ate his corn, she told him. But his pigs got into our garden too, said Stephen. So aren't we even? Stephen's mom smiled. She agreed with her son. We'll have to see what the judge says about that, she told him. Finally, the court date came. Mr. Phillips said, Your Honor, that woman's cows ate my corn. She should pay for it. Soon it was time for Stephen's mom to speak. Yes, my cows ate your corn, but your pigs ate my wheat, she said. I would say that makes you both even, said the judge. Stephen, who was sitting in the back of the courtroom, smiled. The judge agrees with me, he thought. Maybe one day when I grow up, I'll be a judge.
Story 10. Waiting for Hares. There once was a farmer who labored in his fields all year round. One day, as he was working, a hare came out of the bushes. Frightened at the sight of the farmer, the hare started to run. It ran so fast that it smashed into a tree and died. The farmer brought the hare home. He enjoyed a wonderful meal with his wife. The next day, the farmer did not work as hard as before. He turned his eyes to the bushes from time to time, hoping to see another hare. The whole day passed, and the farmer didn't see another hare. He didn't get much work done either. The third day, the farmer was not in the mood to work in the fields anymore. He put his tools aside and sat near the tree. There, he waited for another hare. Again, no hare appeared. From then on, every day, the farmer waited beside the tree. Days passed, and not a single hare showed up. Meanwhile, his fields became deserted, and nothing grew on them.
Story 11. Goosebumps. Brrr. It was cold, really cold. Dustin felt little bumps all over his skin. "What are they?" he asked his dad when he got home. "That is a good question," said his dad. "Your skin is very interesting. Did you know that your skin has thousands of small holes in it?" "Small holes in my skin? That can't be a good thing," thought Dustin. "Why is my skin covered with small holes?" he asked. "If you get too hot, the holes open a little bit and salty water comes out to cool you off," explained Dad. "If you get too cold, the holes get small and you feel warmer. And sometimes you get cold really fast. The holes close quickly and you get little bumps all over your skin. Those are goosebumps. Don't worry, it's normal. Everyone gets goosebumps." Dustin felt better. It's always good to know how your body works.
Story 12. Choices. I live in Canada, but my family is from Chile, South America. In Chile, my grandfather was a tailor. He worked 50 years making suits for men. He taught my dad to be a tailor too. My dad has been a tailor for 20 years now. One day, I said to my father, I would like to be a tailor too. But my father said, I became a tailor because there were no schools in my little town. One of the reasons we came to Canada was the schools. He went on, if you get good education in school, you can do anything you want in the whole world. Then, if you want to be a tailor, a doctor, or a pilot, you have the power to choose. I realized that my dad is pretty smart. It's always better to have choices.
Story 13. Not messy anymore. My uncle is very messy. One time, my aunt went away for a few weeks. There was no one to clean up his mess anymore. The days passed, and the house got messier and messier. On Saturday, he was going to a very big football game. He looked for his ticket, but he could not find it anywhere. He thought, well, I'll just buy a new ticket. But he could not find his wallet. After looking for a while, he found it. He was about to leave when he realized that he couldn't find his car key, or even his key to the house. In the end, he missed the game and was very upset. When my aunt came home, she found the house perfectly clean. Surprised, she asked him, "Who cleaned up the mess?" They both laughed when he said, "I did. You know how much I hate a mess."
Story 14. Cooking for Independence. Terry is always amazed at how his mom cooks. It's like magic. One day, Terry's mother said to him, "Terry, why don't you learn to cook?" "Can I?" asked Terry. "Of course," said his mom. "Cooking is a skill. You can use it forever." "Will you teach me then?" Terry asked. "Sure," his mom agreed. That weekend, Terry's mom explained all the cooking basics as they prepared a meal together. She told him that cooking was not complicated at all. You just need to measure and mix the right things, she told him. In a way, cooking is like a science experiment. If you do everything correctly, the result will be as planned. She also taught him about safety in the kitchen, especially around sharp knives and the hot stove. Under Mom's helpful eyes, Terry cooked his first simple meal, a vegetable and rice soup. It tasted very good.
Story 15. Money for a Well. Do you know what a well is? A well is a hole in the ground from which people get water. But today I learned something else about wells. Our teacher told the class about a village in Africa. People in this village do not have water, said Miss Andress. Many kids cannot go to school. They must walk 5 kilometers to bring water back to their families. Can we help? Asked the children. Yes, we can, Miss Andress said. For only $100, that village can have a well. They can have water. The whole class got excited. Let's make some money for a well. We can have a car wash, says Fatima. Good idea, said Scott. Let's have a car wash. With the money we make, we will help the kids in Africa get water too. That Saturday, the class held a car wash. They made a big sign, Help a Village in Africa. When people drove by, they saw the sign. Many of them pulled over to have their cars washed by the kids. Everyone worked hard. At the end of the day, they collected $104 to send to Africa.
Story 16. When Bus Drivers Strike. In the middle of December, the bus drivers went on strike. All over the city, the buses stopped running. Many people took buses to work, school, and stores. How would they get around without buses? One woman decided to walk. Every day, she walked 3 hours to the store where she worked as a cashier. She did not want to lose her job. She did not want to leave customers without service. After 3 days, a journalist at a local newspaper wrote an article about the woman. Many people called the newspaper to offer the woman a ride. She ended up accepting a ride from one of these people. Finally, she could stop walking long hours in the cold. The woman told the newspaper, "I'm so thankful to all the people in our community. They helped me through this difficult situation." This example just goes to show what can happen when people pull together in a time of need.
Story 17. Clown. It was the annual Christmas parade. Annie was standing in the crowd. Her neighbor, Mr. Stone, was going to be in the parade. Soon some clowns came along. One ran over and pulled Annie's nose. "Maybe someday you'll have a big red nose like mine," he said in a squeaky voice. Annie stepped back and watched. She didn't want to miss seeing Mr. Stone. The clown ran back and pulled Annie's nose again. Then he pulled Annie out of the crowd to march with him. "Let me go. I have to look for my friend Mr. Stone," said Annie. The clown laughed and let Annie go. After the parade, Annie and her family went home. "Did you see me in the parade?" asked Mr. Stone. "No," said Annie. "A clown kept coming and bothering me. I must have missed you." "Maybe someday you'll have a red nose just like mine," said Mr. Stone in a squeaky voice. Annie laughed. The clown had been Mr. Stone the whole time.
Story 18. Stray Cat. Jamie lives on a farm. There is usually plenty of time for having fun, but today is not a fun day. A big car slows down on the road in front of Jamie's house. Suddenly, the car door opens. Someone throws a cat out on the road. Then the car speeds away. Jamie cannot believe his eyes. Who would do something like that? The cat has no one to take care of it. Jamie brings it inside the house. He gives it some milk. He tells his father what happened. "Oh, Jamie," says Dad, "the people in that car are not good people. They are from the city nearby. They did not want this cat anymore, so they brought it to the countryside and let it go. Jamie is very sad. He will take care of this unlucky cat, but he wants people to know something important. Pets are our friends. They trust us. If you decide to get a pet, be ready to take care of it. It's the right thing to do."
Story 19. Recipe for Life. I love to watch my grandfather cook. He is really good at it. For many years, he's had his own restaurant. One day, I visited him at his restaurant. He made his favorite meal, stew. I asked my grandfather how he made stew. He said, "Making stew is an adventure. I never know what I'm going to put in it. It is different every time. I use meat, carrots, celery, potatoes, onions, and other foods I find in the kitchen," he said. "But how do you know how much of everything to put in?" I asked. He looked at me. "Making a good stew is like making a good life. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, but not too much of anything. This is a great recipe for good food and a good life."
Story 20. Winter in Canada. Misha grew up in Africa. When she was 5 years old, her family decided to move to Canada. Misha cried and cried. "I don't want to go," she said. "Canada is cold. I have no friends there." But her father said, "You will like living there." And so the family moved. In December, when the first snow fell, Misha looked out of the window and saw big, fluffy snowflakes falling from the sky. "It is pretty," Misha thought, "but it will be very cold when I walk to school today." She was not happy. Then her mother called her. "Misha, look what I have." She was holding a brand new snowsuit. Her mom said, "In Canada, people donate money so that families like us can have new snowsuits for the winter. This will keep you warm when you go outside. Do you want to try it on?" Misha put on her new, warm snowsuit. It fit her perfectly. "It's pretty," she thought. Now she was ready to go out and face the Canadian winter. Later, she told her parents that she had made a snowman with her friends at school. It was fun.
Story 21. When the Fire Happened, Part 1. Jessie and her 2 young sisters lived with their mother in an apartment building. They moved to the city 3 months ago. One evening, a fire started on the 2nd floor of the building. The smoke quickly spread through the whole building. The fire alarm rang sharply. All the people ran out of the burning building. There was no time to gather valuables. The mother grabbed only winter jackets for her 3 children. They ran outside to safety. Soon, the firefighters arrived. They were trying to control the fire so that it wouldn't spread to buildings nearby. The small fire soon turned into a huge flame. Standing in horror, the children watched their apartment building burn for hours. Finally, it collapsed. All of a sudden, this family and 12 other families in the same building were homeless. Their world was turned upside down. Story 22. When the Fire Happened, Part 2. All the families were put in a hotel for the night. That immediate help came from the Red Cross office. But what would happen next? How would they get their lives back to normal? Many people came to help. Their neighbors, friends, relatives, and strangers. They brought clothes, food, money, and even teddy bears. A week later, all the families settled into their newly rented houses. Jessie's mother told her children, "So many people have helped us in this disaster, we must never forget what they have done for us." The 3 children looked at their mom, and they all understood her. Right away, they started to make special cards to thank their classmates for helping them. At the bottom of their cards, they added this message: "Don't play with fire. It's dangerous."
Story 23. One good turn deserves another. One day, Ant was tired after a long walk. He stopped at a lake for a drink of water. Suddenly, a strong wind blew, and he fell into the lake. Ant cried, "Help! Help! I am drowning!" A dove flying nearby heard the cries. She caught a leaf and dropped it into the water beside Ant. Ant climbed on and rowed the leaf safely to land. Ant was very grateful to Dove, for she had saved his life. The next day, there was a man in the forest. He wanted to set a trap to catch the dove. As everyone knows, doves are very good to eat. Ant watched the man work. What to do? I have to help Dove. Quickly, Ant crawled up the man's leg. He bit the man with all his strength. "Ouch!" cried the man loudly, his voice echoing in the forest. Dove heard the man's cries and flew away to safety. She too was grateful to Ant for saving her life.
Story 24. The Night Before. Frank and Mary were so excited. Why? It was Christmas Eve, almost time for Santa Claus to come. "It's time for bed," said Dad. "You don't want to be late for bed tonight." "But wait," said Mary. "We have to hang up our stockings." Mary pulled out 4 red stockings, one for Mom, one for Dad, one for Mary, and one for Frank. Dad hung them by the fireplace. "I think you're ready," said Mom. "You'd better get to bed." "But wait," said Frank. "We have to frost the cookies and put them on a plate for Santa." So Frank and Mary frosted the cookies. "I think you're ready now," said Dad. "You'd better get to bed," said Mom again. "But wait," said Mary. "We need to write Santa a note." Mary wrote a note and placed it on the table beside the plate of cookies. "Now we're ready," said Mary and Frank together. Frank and Mary went to bed and waited for Santa Claus and Christmas morning.
Story 25. Santa Claus. Bill had big boots. He stomped around the garden in his big boots. He made big steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On Christmas Eve, it snowed. Bill counted his footprints in the snow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what was this? Bill looked down and saw lots of very, very big footprints made by even bigger boots. Then he heard little bells and looked up. Who was that on the roof? Ho, ho, ho! Wearing very big boots, dressed all in red, and with a big white beard, Santa Claus smiled at Bill. Ho, ho, ho! Laughed Santa. The number of footprints you count is the number of presents you will get. Bill smiled at Santa and waved. Then he turned around to count the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bill looked up again. Santa was gone, but there was a big red sack and a note by the porch. Merry Christmas, Bill, from Santa.
Story 26. The Moaning Ghost. My dad fixes pianos and organs. One night he asked me to come with him. Oh, no, I thought as I saw the house we were going to. All my friends and I knew this place was haunted. There were always strange moaning sounds coming from it. Dad, there is a moaning ghost in there. We rang the doorbell and went inside. As we walked in, I could hear that terrible, low, moaning sound from before. Did you hear that, Dad? I asked. My dad just smiled. In one of the rooms, I could see a very large organ with long pipes that went to the ceiling. My dad went around to the back of the organ, closed something, and the low moaning sound suddenly stopped. He said, "The wind was blowing across the top of the pipes. This caused the organ to make sounds. That was your famous moaning ghost." So, it turned out that the moaning ghost was just a noisy old organ.
Story 27. Slower than a turtle. Hurry up, Millie. You're slower than a turtle today, says Alana. That's okay, replies Millie. It is not a bad thing to be as slow as a turtle. Do you know that turtles live to be 200 and even 300 years old? Wow, says Alana. How is that possible? There are many reasons, says Millie, but mostly it's because they take their time. They are never in a rush. They take life easy. People can learn a lesson from turtles. Later, the two girls read about turtles. They discover that turtles walk very slowly. They are never in a hurry to eat. Sometimes they take many hours to eat a good meal. They breathe slowly and get lots of rest. In winter, they make a big hole in the mud and go to sleep. Everything gets even slower. When they wake up in the spring, they begin to move. But as always, they move slowly. That's the trick. Slow and steady wins the race. So what's the lesson to be learned from turtles? Don't get too excited and live a long life, just like a turtle.
Story 28. The the mixing bowl. There is a legend about the invention of firecrackers. Over 2,000 years ago, a chef in the Chinese army mixed 3 powders together in a bowl. He accidentally dropped the bowl, and it burst into beautiful flames. The chef got excited. He put the powders in a bamboo shoot. It exploded. Bang! A firecracker was born. Today, we still play with firecrackers. People use them during important events, such as festivals and celebrations. Playing with them can be dangerous. You can burn or hurt yourself when you light a firecracker, or you could start a fire if the firecracker lands on something flammable. But people still love them. From firecrackers came rockets. Today, we send rockets deep into space to other planets. So next time you see a rocket take off into space, think about that little chef and his bowl full of powder. If only he knew what he had started.
Story 29. Good Little Bugs. My sister can't stand anything that is not clean. She washes her hands a lot. Everything has to be clean, clean, clean. I'm not like her. I enjoy touching the earth. I love playing in the mud. When we went for our regular checkups, the doctor told us everyone has some bugs or bacteria living on their bodies. They're so small that you can't even see them. Is that true? I asked. Yes, and no matter how hard you try, you can't get rid of them, said the doctor. The doctor explained, some types of bacteria can make you sick, but other types are good, like the ones in cheese, yogurt, and bread. They make these foods taste good. Bacteria are even used to make chocolate bars. My sister was not happy to hear this. Yuck, she said. I don't think she'll be joining me in the mud any time soon.
Story 30. Our New Year's Show. Our school put on a show to celebrate the new year. Each class, from kindergarten to grade 6, was to do at least one thing: dancing, singing, or poetry reading. Who would be in the audience? Of course, there would be lots of teachers, students, and parents. The day of the show came. The show started with the kindergarten class. A group of kids, ages 3 to 4, got on the stage. Their teacher held the hand of the first kid. The rest followed them hand in hand. When the music started, all the children started dancing in their own way. 2 little boys were just standing there watching the audience. People applauded to cheer for them. When the music stopped, the class turned to leave. But one little girl didn't want to leave. She wanted to stay on stage and keep dancing. People laughed. In the end, the teacher had to carry the girl off stage. Everyone had a good time. It was a lot of fun to have our own show for the New Year's celebration.
Story 31. Pot of Wisdom. Long ago, when the world was young, a spider was given a pot containing all the wisdom of the world. Each day, he reached into the pot and learned something new. But Spider would not share. He wanted to keep all the wisdom to himself. Spider made a plan. He began to climb a tall tree. I will hide the wisdom pot way up high, he said. I will be the wisest one in the world. As he climbed, he had a lot of trouble. The pot kept getting stuck in the branches. From below, Spider's son watched. He called out, "Tie the pot to your back, father. That way it will be easier to climb." Spider got mad. He thought, "My young son is wiser than I. I have the wisdom pot, yet he is wiser." Spider got very mad and threw the pot to the ground, breaking it into many pieces. Everyone picked up a piece of wisdom, and that is why many people know different things, but no one has all the wisdom in the world.